What up, everyone? Welcome to the STS podcast. TK, Coach TK, how you doing, man?
I'm good in yourself, man.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thanks for joining in.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be on, yeah?
I did a little poll yesterday. I'm like, who do people want on the podcast? And your name came up like three, four
Yeah.
times. So I was like, okay,
Is it?
obvious guest.
Cool. That's sick. I was surprised by the photo you guys picked to throw on there. Yes, the one shirtless photo.
I,
I
I
love
I was I was surfing through your Instagram. I was like, that's a flattering picture. I was shocked with that.
it. Yeah, it was funny. It was funny.
No, man, I've been actually keen to have you on for a while now because I wanted to get into the mind of the person who has sort of started and established one of the most popular powerlifting gyms in the country right now. Like, what was your inspiration
Mm.
behind starting Genesis Barbell?
To be honest, I it's been a dream of mine really since I was very young. Um, hasn't always been powerlifting specifically. When I started training, I started like anyone else, just training in the gym to put on some muscle and lose a little bit of weight and whatnot. And I just fell in love with it. And I thought, well, I would own a gym one day. It would be fantastic. So back then, I was thinking just a typical like gym. Got a lot of inspiration from Arnold, just like everyone else. And like the Gold's Gym, that was my thing, something like that. And then eventually going into powerlifting and whatnot, I thought, well, this would be a great opportunity. So yeah, I studied in Stellenbosch University, did an undergrad in physiology, and then afterwards I thought, well, it's a good time as any to get going with what I always wanted to do. So yeah, just uh, put my head down and figured out a way to throw this little place up. So yeah, it was kind of just always a dream of mine to be able to provide a facility for people to train at. So
You've done a
yeah.
fantastic job getting it to a point where it's because you're at this point now you're hosting comps. The gym's quite popular.
Mm,
I've trained there myself and like nothing but good things to say about it. Like the equipment's really good, the vibe is really
thanks,
good,
man.
the atmosphere. So I might tell you, like, what drew you towards powerlifting? Like, when did your powerlifting journey sort of start?
Uh, yeah, it's actually very, very typical story. I've always liked training heavy. I think for most powerlifters, that's like they
Mm.
start training and then they like really enjoy the heavy stuff, and the hype and so yeah, I just started doing heavy squats, bench, deadlift in the gym back in Virgin Active where they complained to me about dropping the bar and things like that. And then one day, random guy, very random guy. I was very young. I was, I think, 16 at the time. A random oak came up to me and he said, "Hey, do you do powerlifting?" And I was like, "No, I just like to train heavy." And he was like, "You're pretty strong. How old are you?" And I was like, "Told him my age." And he said, "I should do a powerlifting comp." And I thought, "Oh, okay, I'll look into it." And being the competitive kind of person that I am, I was like,
Mm.
it didn't take me long to decide. Let me just do a comp and go for it. And I went to go look the other day. Actually, um, my first comp was the Arnold Classic, the IPF comp in 2016, and you competed there as well. I
You
went to go
freaking
look at
joke.
the score sheet. I promise you, man. Yeah, I was 16 at the time, competed there, and I went to go look at the list of names, and I saw Edgar. I was like, "What the hell, man? That's
Oh,
crazy."
dude,
Um,
small. Oh, well, the powerlifting community is small, but I would have never. I would have.
yeah,
There's no way I'd remember you. If you were 16 back
yeah,
then, there's
yeah,
no way I would remember you. You're making me feel old
yeah.
though, because if you were 16, how freaking old was I back then?
Yeah, yeah, and then I did that, and um, I did pretty well, I think. And then after that, I thought, well, let me see how it goes with the powerlifting training if I was to like dial down on that. And picked up, just fell in love with it like completely. And like a lot of coaches out there, I did the dumb thing, and I thought, well, I've made progress. Let me start coaching other people. And I was that typical guy,
Mm.
Instagram like DM me for coaching, etc. I mean, I look back at that and I just laugh now. But yeah, so then I kind of got a client here and there, you know, someone I kind of like took under my wing, and then eventually that just grew and whatnot, and actually became a pretty successful thing, I would think. And yeah, now all of this kind of just time just went by, and I just was able to set up everything that I've got now, which is great, and I'm loving it. I'm enjoying it. It's everything I've ever wanted. So got a lot to be grateful for. Yeah.
I love how a lot of the higher the more experienced powerlifters now all have the same story of like, so how'd you get into the sport? It was like, oh, I like training heavy, and a random guy told me like, hey, you should consider the sport you've never heard of. That's exactly how I got into it too. It was like, for me, it was like I was already studying. I was studying human movement science. I was towards the end. I was like in my second year or third year, and I was like, we had to do an assignment where you had to like follow a sports club and blah blah blah. And some guy was like, hey, why don't you like follow the local powerlifting sports club? I was like, what the frick is powerlifting? So I met up with the guy who was in charge. He was like, so like besides your assignment thing, like you're a big guy, how strong are you? And like from that point on, I was like, okay, you're doing the next meet. It's in 4 weeks. We'll get you ready. I was like, okay.
Nice. So when was this? A good couple of years ago.
This was, when was this? 2014, I want to say. Yeah, okay. 2014. Okay. Yep. I think I was 20, how old was I? 22, 21, somewhere there. Okay. Yeah, so it was quite a ways back, but it's like same story. You know how it is, like the you start in the sport, you have no idea what you're doing. But as like at the time, I was like, well, you know, I've studied the stuff, I can figure it out. And you spend like 2-3 years doing it badly in the pursuit of figuring it out.
Yeah, always.
So I was like, if I got a coach from day one back then, I would be way less banged up, and I'd be a much better athlete now too. Maybe a worse coach, maybe not, because you might have the theory, you might disagree with me. Or like I feel like as a coach, some of the better coaches are the coaches who have learned a lot of trial and error along the spectrum. Like you don't come out being the perfect coach day one. You start as a shitty coach and you eventually become a good
coach. Absolutely. I agree with you. I mean, I was about to say now, and I'm getting the idea was the exact same for you. I didn't have anyone like taking me under their wing at the start. Like it was me, myself, and I going at it and just figuring it out along the way. I think that's what's good about nowadays is there's a lot of people like out there. You can easily find a coach and whatnot. But back then it was like powerlifting was very, very small. It's gotten a lot bigger. It's grown a lot in South Africa since then. So yeah, I mean, goodness, that was literally just figuring it out along the way, learning from other people. Yeah, well, it's fun. It's a fun journey.
What I love about it, I love what I've said this in a couple of these podcasts now. I've said like how I think now, like between now and the next sort of 3 to 5 years, I think we're getting to the golden era of like what South African powerlifting is going to be. This is when we're not going to get like the random outliers who do really good. I think it's going to be the most competitive it's ever been. Yeah. Because like now we have like a lot of the guys from your gym also. It's like people you haven't heard of 2, 3, 4 years ago suddenly are chasing the top 15 spots in the country. Like your numbers are climbing. You have Dan's numbers are climbing. You have Sipo coming out of your gym. So I feel like in the next 3 to 5 years, like the who the top dogs are is going to be an ever changing list.
Yeah, which is how it should be. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be a little bit more exciting, a little bit more competitive. It's going to make it more interesting for everyone. So
it's going to be definitely amazing. But tell me, like the dynamics of your gym, like how are things like on a day-to-day? Like, is there a lot of interpersonal competition between the athletes who train at your gym? Is it more friendly? Like, what's the vibe?
It's to be honest, it depends. It depends on the time of day. So typically, we've got. So I come in the morning and it's very quiet. It's quiet at the moment. There's no one here. So during working hours, it's a person here and there, whatnot. But typically, there's like a time frame where it's the more serious athletes like myself, Travis, Mark, and Dan and whoever. And I mean, when it's us, it's like it's actually so funny because when we train, we'll start off and we'll obviously start with either squat, bench, deadlift, or whatever, you know. And as we're warming up, we like putting on the heavy metal, the like, loud, like serious stuff. We do our top sets, even maybe a couple back downs, and then so it's either the heavy metal, like hardcore stuff, or it's Katy Perry and like the very, very chill, fun, you know. So it's actually very funny because we kind of live in both worlds. It's like very competitive, very serious, but also very relaxed, very chill. But yeah, you can see everyone brings their own kind of element to the gym. It's very interesting that people's personality really like gets thrown into the gym. So again, you've got the serious guys that are like very heavy days where they'll come in and it's just like go, 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 go. And you get the guys that are more chilled and whatnot. And yeah, but it's definitely a very competitive environment as much as it is relaxed. And that's what I like about it. You know, everyone comes to train and do their thing, but I like that there's that drive, you know. So it makes it's a very motivating environment for sure. Which is a lot of response that we get from people, because obviously as a business we obviously want to grow and we're trying to reach people to join the gym, etc., and all of that. And the biggest thing we hear from other people is it's a very intimidating environment and we don't know if we should join because it's this guy and that guy and everyone's lifting 300 plus kilos. And I'm like,
I can imagine
yes,
that.
we've got those people, but we want everyone to join. But there's definitely that little hint of hectic intensity and come in and it's work. You come in and you're doing a job. Yeah.
It's the one caveat to having that many successful athletes all in one environment together. It does make it seem like, well, like I'm not as strong as them, I can't hang, so like maybe this isn't the spot for me. Whereas actually, I might be a little bit biased because I'm also a decently successful athlete. But when you get there, it's like a very like welcoming environment. Like I remember like when I walked in, I was like I only know like half the oaks. Like I don't know everyone because it's like you don't like there's so many comps around this year. You don't get a chance to meet everyone like it was back in the day. So all the new oaks, I'm like I don't actually know you, but it's like in the span of half an hour of us warming up next to each other, there's a conversation here. Okay, who are you? What's up? What's your deal? And it's like a very welcoming environment where it's like I don't know who these guys are, and half an hour later we're chatting like we're friends. So it's actually a really like that's what I love about your gym. Like you can see that the culture you've instilled in the guys who belong to that gym is a very welcoming and opening one.
That's the goal, eh? I appreciate that you mentioned that because that's honestly what we want to achieve. Like, I mean, I don't think I've got a single person that walk in here that doesn't come and greet me, you know, which is great. Like I want that kind of I want the relational side of it as well. You know, some people come in and it's like long day at work, just want to get things done, get their workout and go home, and that's great. But there's always that relational aspect to it, which is fantastic. That's what I want. That's why I do all of this, is to have that kind of the relational aspect, the camaraderie. That's probably the right word to use, which makes it a whole lot better. So I tell everyone, like, this is as much my job as it is my social life. All my mates come here and train, and we interact, and obviously I sit here and I work all day, but when I go and train, I'm on the gym floor. It's just a vibe. It's great. Fantastic.
But tell me, what are some of the downsides of owning a gym? Because I can imagine there are a few. I remember like you posted a thing on Instagram about how a couple members weren't cleaning up after themselves, and I was wondering to myself, is he like is he does he want to name and shame and is refraining from naming and shaming? Because it's a small enough gym, you probably know exactly who the people are. So I was like, well, what are some of the downsides of
that? Yeah, so there are a couple of things that I've noticed, and it comes with any job really. But firstly, I don't always know. There are one or two people that are notorious for leaving a mess, and I obviously they need to speak to. But for the most part, I walk on, because I sit in the office and I work, and I'm not always on the gym floor. But when I am, I come in and there's a mess. And I'm like, which is not like, it's fine, you know. People do their thing and whatnot. It's just again a culture that I'm trying to instill. That we look after the place. It's all of our stuff, you know. But I mean, that's just a little bit of an ick. That's nothing crazy serious. It doesn't bother me that much. But your question now, what are the downsides? To be honest, probably one I'd mention is the fact that it's kind of a pro and con. The fact that it's such a like kind of slightly intimate, more personal environment. There can be times when people try and take advantage of that with regards to like kind of what they can get out of the gym, you know, so membership wise, payment wise, things like that. So that plays a little bit of a role. I'm not going to go deep into that, but they definitely, the tough part is managing that kind of relational aspect and the business aspect, which I think is a good problem to have, because we don't want to pick one or the other. We want them to blend. In my opinion, I like that. I do this for the relational aspect. I don't want to separate my business from my friendships and things like that. I want the two to come together. But it's a learning process to kind of deal with both those things. So at the same time. But this is the other thing. As soon as I started the gym, right, I immediately had a communication from everyone, like high up in the powerlifting community in South Africa, and they were like just shoving down my throat, like, oh, do you want to do this? Oh, do you want to do that? Oh, do you want to do this? And I'm like, guys, relax. Because let's be honest, there's a little bit of, I wouldn't say beef, but there's definitely history with groups and people and whatnot. We all know this. No one wants to talk about it, but we all know it's there. And unfortunately, when it comes to this, I've had people be like, hey, do you want to become part of this federation and be a coordinator for us, or, you know, things like that. And I'm like, guys, I'm going to play it neutral, because if I pick one, the other is going to shun me. How it is. That's part of the history. That's part of picking. Yeah. And I'll say it outright. That's how it is. So I'm trying to take a little bit of a back seat and be like, guys, just calm down, relax. Let's just make it all neutral. Yeah. So yeah.
I feel like that's a part of the sport, at least here in the country, the part of the sport, even globally, there's a lot of that as well, that I like the least. Because I'm like, listen, like to me, if this was soccer, rugby, cricket, where it's like, listen, there is millions of rands of contracts and stuff like that, where like, listen, as an athlete, I can do really well, I can get sponsorships and blah, blah, blah. If there was that, then I could deal with the political bullshit side of it. But like the only thing I have to gain in the sport is my own enjoyment. Yeah. And if that's the only thing I have to gain, I don't give two shits what the federational politics are, or who has beef with whom, or who doesn't like whom, and which federation this particular competition belongs to. I honestly don't care. It's which one of these can I have the most fun at? Which one makes the most sense? Which one has like the better number of people I can compete against? And that's it. That's the only part of this whole, that's the only part of powerlifting I care about, because that's the only part I can actually get out of this. And we're too small a sport to be beefing with each other. All that, like I understand the reason why there are as many federations as they are, but honestly, I wish there was one, or like at max two, like one when you're tested, one when you're not. If there was like that, that would be ideal for me. Yeah,
that is exactly what I always tell. Whenever me and my mates or my clients or whoever have a conversation, I'll always say the exact same thing. One tested, one untested. It doesn't need to be more. The only reason there's more is because people are people and people are imperfect, unfortunately, and there will be drama, there will be stuff. And it's how it is, and it's fine. But yeah, but it can be a little uncomfortable sometimes. So, but it's how the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. So
even though like I'm technically affiliated to WPC, and I'm organizing a comp with them for here in PE. Like I've always made it known, like this, when it comes to me personally competing or where my athletes compete, it's like it's whatever makes sense in the calendar. Like I go where it's fun. And I'm very happy to be affiliated with WPC. I think they host amazing competitions. I love the way they organize things. But like if an RPC comp happens to make sense in terms of the calendar and how I want to structure my training, like they have amazing comps as well. So I'm like, if that makes sense, I'm going there. If the WPC one makes sense, I'm going there. Like I'm very much no one has called me out on it. I can imagine I'm probably ruffling a few feathers somewhere, but no one said it to me, so I don't care. But it's like that's just, like, the only thing I get out of this is me enjoying it. As soon as it's no longer fun, the day powerlifting becomes no longer fun, the day I'm out. Like that's my personal philosophy, you know?
Yeah. Which is that's an interesting point, because in the last while I've had quite a bit of interaction with people, and along the same line, like people trying to pull me in to do this and that and whatnot, and I'm like, and I say no thanks most of the time, especially when it comes to organizing competitions and things like that. I think that's great. I think there are people out there that want to do it, that do a fantastic job at it, good stuff. But I feel like as soon as I open the gym, because I've been powerlifting for a while now, I wouldn't say for an exceptionally long time, but I've been doing this for like a good number of years. And now all of a sudden that I open the gym, it's like everyone's asking me to do this and that. And when I say no, they don't take it well. And they say, oh, but you need to get back to the sport and this and that. And I'm like, brother, honestly, this is getting back to the sport. What more do you want me to do? I just want to do my thing, like compete where I want to compete. Asking me to host this or organize that, it's basically asking anyone else in this gym. It's just because I own a gym that people assume that I need to be more involved. And I'm like, I think there are great event organizers out there. I don't want to be one of them. Unfortunately, that's not where my passion lies. That's not what I want to do. My passion is lifting and having a gym and giving that facility out to people. That's what I want to do. So, but I get you, man. When it's not fun, what is the point? What is the point?
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm saying, like, listen, like there's certain people who organize, like you said, organize great comps, have a passion for doing that, and like it shows. Like I've been to comps where the person organizing has a real passion for doing it, and I've been to comps where I suspect the person who organized it did not really, they didn't put their heart and soul into it, and it's a tangible difference when you're there. It's a very tangible difference. So like the late Andre, may rest in peace. Like he always put everything he had into a comp. Like his comps always, you could tell he went the extra mile as far as he could to make a good comp, and you feel it when you're there. So I can imagine that, and I can imagine that because of when I was in Cape Town in your gym, I had a few conversations around that, where it's like with him missing now, it's almost like the mantle wants to be passed to you to sort of carry that on. And I'm like, those are massively large shoes to fill, especially if you have no real interest in wanting to fill them.
Yep, that's true. I'd never be able to do what he did, never. And I don't, that's wow, what a great guy. Did an exceptional amount for the sport. But yeah, it's tough. It's hard not having him around to do what he did. It was amazing. But yeah.
But tell me, you are. I'm not. I think you're not organizing it, but there is a meet happening at your gym, March 4th, which I wanted to do until my back bucked down on me. The downfall of being slightly older in the sport. But tell me, like, how involved are you with the organizing of that?
I do everything around the venue. So food, drinks, chairs, music, uh, potentially an ambulance. um, yeah, that's about it. Nothing else. And I made that very clear because again, it's a slow process being roped into uh, being more involved. And I make it very clear from the start because it's every comp's like that. Every comp hosted here, there's that little bit of a push.
Yeah. Yeah.
To,
But like in terms of because you hosted a very successful one end of last year. That was I think RPC affiliated, and now you're
yeah.
hosting WPC affiliate one now. But tell me, like,
Mhm.
how do comp days typically go there? Because the atmosphere looked like it was amazing at the last one. Like what are your favorite aspects of having a comp hosted at your gym?
Well, one thing I can vouch for is there's never a problem with equipment warming up. I think that's what makes this such a nice venue. I mean, it's not the biggest venue. It can be a little crowded sometimes, especially with the bigger comps. But the equipment is fantastic. I love to see people use that and be happy to use that because it's not every comp that you get to warm up with
Yeah.
good barbells,
Yeah.
good calibrated plates. You know what I mean? So it's nice to see that. I like seeing that. The atmosphere, I think I can give a lot of that to our sound system. I did my very best to create that for the gym as a facility in general. So having that the heavy stuff blasting during a comp is fantastic, and I control all the music. So when a person gets on the platform, I push it up, and it's like it's a vibe, you know. And I also know some of the competitors here and there, and those are just like a kind of like a side note. But whenever like a competitor that I know goes up, I'll like play a song that I know they enjoy, and then you can see in their face they're like, oh. So anyway,
It's the
but
small things.
yeah, it is the small things. But yeah, it's always a nice vibe, always a nice environment. I always get smiles and from everyone, and that's great. You know, I like the intimate environment. I like that everyone knows each other. I like that camaraderie is around. So, but yeah, the atmosphere is always nice with the comps. Yeah, it's always a good time. Always a good time. Until afterwards, when we need to mop this place and clean everything up.
I can
Because you
imagine.
know other people are with the chalk and the baby powder
Yeah.
everywhere.
I
But it's a
haven't
joy.
organized a comp. Like I didn't organize one last year, but I did the year before that. And it's like the because I'm also like you get caught up in like the moment of a comp where it's like on the day everything's organized and everything's good, and I'm like, okay, cool. The judges know what they're doing, the platform's ready, all good. You have like an awesome day, and then everyone gets to leave, and you're there for an additional 2-3 hours cleaning up. I was like,
Yeah.
that like in that moment, I was like, yes, was this worth it?
Yeah. I must say though, especially because we've had two comps here, especially the last one. Man, there were so many people helping out at the end.
Oh, that's awesome.
Most of which we didn't even ask. Lots of people helping out, cleaning up, putting things back to where it was. And we spent like, I mean, it's a pretty decently sized facility. Quite a bit to do cleaning up in the end, and it took us about an hour and a half to get everything done.
That's
Quick
okay.
sticks. Yeah, so very, very helpful on that day. Yeah.
Shifting gears a little bit to the athletes who, because you train like quite a few really good athletes train at your gym. Like you have Nicole, you have Sipo, you have TJ, you have Dan. It's like
TJ.
No,
Who's TJ?
TJ, yeah. So like,
Who's that?
do you have like so are they ever like when someone's maybe going a little bit heavier, like going close to a max, do the other athletes around them ever deviate from plan and start doing the same thing just for his? And any like major lifts that happen on similar days? Like, well, what's the vibe there?
Not really, but yeah, no, not really. I mean, especially not my athletes, because I know I'll scull them if they go off plan. But there's definitely eyes everywhere, that I can say for sure. When someone has got a big lift, everyone, no matter what they're doing, where they're at, everyone's heads turn. We all focus on the person. It's shouting at them, hyping them up, and then afterwards everyone goes back to their own thing again. Yeah, but you're talking about Travis there. It's TG Fitness, Travis, not TJ. Thought I'd
It's TG. TJ. Okay.
TG Fitness.
I get my G's and my J's confused.
I know. But yeah, no. For the most part, we all kind of stick to the plan, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah.
I feel like that's what I'm missing in my life. I miss training in the facility where I'm not the strongest person there, because I feel like because everyone gets those days when it's like, listen, I'm really not in the mood to train. Like things aren't clicking. It's just like, it's not my day. And like having someone who is stronger than you, or someone you're evenly matched with, and they're having a good day. There's something about like having that environment where it helps you switch into a different gear.
Yeah, that's true. What's his name? Eduardo. Rest in peace. Whenever he came to the gym, it was like that for me, because I was obviously a under 90 athlete as well as he was, and he every time he stepped into the gym, I mean, he was on his way up to be very competitive once again, coming back from injury and things like that. And every time he would be there, would just be that little extra fire, kind of like push me. So definitely part of the environment here is we've got like a good few people that have an eye out on someone who they have slightly more that competitive nature with. And you can see that, and we joke about it and we laugh about it, and it's very, very relaxed here, but deep down they know, like, they need to step up a gear to be able to to beat them. So
is that the whole listen, I'm really happy for you, that's a really good set, but also fuck you, now I have to match it.
Yeah, that's exactly how it goes. Yeah. So yeah.
No, awesome, man. Listen, like you've opened a really good facility. It's not every day a facility can open up in like a specific town and be a talking point for people in other cities. Because like I'm all the way in PE, and like I heard about it when Genesis opened. I heard about it almost immediately, because it's that good a facility, and the culture around it you're trying to instill is really good. So it's even though it's you should be under no obligation to give more back to the sport. I feel like you're already giving a decent amount. So for that, I want to thank you, being a pillar of the sport. Thank you for coming on the podcast. It's really appreciated. Do you have anything you want to say in closing?
Not much. I mean, I shout out to all my members watching. Yeah, I must say it's been fantastic having this facility, and thanks again for having me on. Yeah, I love what I do, love the team here, love the members here. We just want to grow the sport and get some really good athletes out there to do their thing. So that's the goal. Yeah. But thanks a lot for having me, man.
Shut, man. Listen, if anyone's looking for coaching, Coach TK, his information will be in the description down below. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you in the next one.